Okay, guys, so, whew, little bonus content for you. Again, I urge you to get the membership so you can see all the content that I'm going to be putting up. I'm basically going to be putting like half of my videos for members only and half for the masses, for foreigners, half for citizens of Ak Nation or people who have green cards to Ak Nation or people who are visiting on a visa, and half for, you know, the people of the world. So make sure you sign up for that membership. I'm giving y'all a few more days because I know it's people having trouble figuring it out, and I can't figure out what the problem is. But that's the move. Salute to everybody though. I had to touch on this Maxine Waters situation because she's just a terrible person. She's reprehensible. She's just a reprehensible person. She's a bad person. Things she's done, her views, she's a bad person. And we're going to get into that. So she said some things on some Sirius XM show the other day, the Joe Madison show, and has black men justifiably upset. So let's listen to what she had to say, what Auntie had to say.
I mean, I don't even know where any blacks would be coming from that would be voting for Trump. It just hurts me so bad to see blacks talking about supporting Trump. I don't know why they would be doing it. I don't know what's on their minds. But if we don't turn out this vote and turn it out huge, this man could end up winning again.
We spent most of the morning here because this story came out that, as Florida goes, it might make it a short night, but black men could very well carry Florida and particularly other states, but in particular Florida. But these young black men, for the most part, they're somehow it's being communicated to them that they either need to support Trump or they need not vote. And I just need you, one who, look, you know how the system works. You know how this game is played. To just talk to these young brothers for a minute or so.
Okay, so that adds a little color to it. You know me, I'm calling balls and strikes. That brother kind of asked for this. And listen, only 15% of black men are going to vote for Trump. Watch the exit poll, watch the polling data, watch the surveys, watch when everything comes back. After all the data comes back after the election, I'll say tops 20% of black men vote for Donald Trump. So this guy being such a Democratic bed buck is not surprising, because if you're in a room of 10 black men, 8 of them are voting for Biden, and they talk like this guy. 8 out of 10 black men talk like this. The difference is that if you're in a room full of 10 black women, 9.7 of them talk like this. Okay? So let's put it even more in perspective. If you're in a room of 100 black women, 97% of them talk like Maxine Waters. If you're in a room of 100 black men, 80 of them talk like this guy, Joe Madison. So at the end of the day, the situation's still jacked up.
Well, let me just say this. absolutely right about many of these young men, these young black men, not really understanding how the systems work and what we have done to improve the systems. They don't understand any of this, and they don't want to understand it. They think somehow if they are going to support Trump, that they're going to realize some big sums of money that's going to come to them through some damn proposals that they're going to present, and they're going to be taken care of, and they're going to be able to manage all of this money. They are crazy. They're not going to get a dime from these people. They don't even know how to put together the right kind of proposals to even be considered in this way that government works.
Okay, so she made a good point there. The majority of black people in general don't know how this shit works. How the U.S., the three branches of government, the Congress, the Senate, they just don't know. Like, it's a fact. Why is that, Auntie? Why is that, Auntie? Lack of education? Lack of schooling? We're African Americans. We grew up in America. We were born in America, many of us. We have access to everything that's American. I know you guys talk about racism and all this systematic shit. I've never been denied anything based on my skin color. Nobody's ever said, no, you can't do that because you're black. Never. It's never happened to me. And I was born in 78. Now, I have denied shit. I remember being at the spelling bee, D.C. spelling bee. This when I went to Roots Activity Learning Center in Washington, D.C. Very good school. Still open today. It's like a Dr. Umar school, except Mama Thompson, Benita Thompson, great woman. She started that thing back in the 70s, and it's been going every year since then. I'm talking about preschool to like 8th grade. Never missed a year, never missed a semester. Put out some of the brightest students in Washington, D.C. Afrocentric curriculum, Afrocentric everything. Talking about the teachers wore kente cloth. This back in the 80s. I mean, we learned about everything. The Moors. We learned about Egypt. We learned about African Kwame Nkrumah, goddamn Lumumba, everybody. Black Panther. Only thing we learned that the white kids learned in public schools and the other black kids learned in public schools was math and science. Everything else was Afrocentric. And I went to that school and I was, I qualified for the spelling bee. Me and my boy Wandishi. Wandishi's dead now. Me and my boy Wandishi, man, R.I.P. Wandishi. He been dead for about 20 years. But we got to the spelling bee, and the lights was so bright, and it was so real, and the winner was going to qualify for the National Spelling Bee. He intentionally misspelled a word wrong, just so he wouldn't have to do that. Wouldn't have to, fulfill his potential and be all he could be. And my dumb ass, because I used to follow him, he was a grade older than me, and he was like my idol and shit. When I came up, I spelled my word wrong on purpose too, and we just got out of there. And we knew those. We knew how to spell crazy words. I mean, we could spell everything. I think I was in the 6th grade when this happened, and I never forget it because we failed on purpose because we didn't want to live up to what we were supposed to be on a macro level, and I see black men doing that all the time. So yes, we don't understand these things, and it's only our fault. But at the same time, Maxine Waters, as a representative, a person who's been in power for all this time, why isn't the level of black male acuity and acumen and education higher in your district? Let's just say nationally it's screwed up. Nationally, black men don't understand the way of the world. They can't function. They don't understand the world, as Dr. David Manning would say. Is it a little bit higher in your district, Maxine Waters? We'll get to that in a little bit.
How you have to get through the House and the Senate and all of these committees, even in order to get to the president to sign something, and he's not going to sign a darn thing to them. He's a racist. And for those black young men who think somehow they can align themselves with Trump, not only are they terribly mistaken, any of them showing their face, I will never, ever forgive them for undermining the possibility to help their own people and their own communities. It is absolutely unconscionable. It is shameful. But if they would spend some time...
Now, she's never going to forgive us. We're shameful for not voting for Joe Biden. I'm going to just leave. I don't even have to. I've talked about that ad nauseum. What she just said was utterly ridiculous.
With us, we would help them to know what we're struggling for and how they would be able to help us in this struggle. They don't send anything to, any of the social media about helping us in what we're doing. I mean, I guess it's all right to talk about, how many cars you got. It's all right to talk about women, etc. on all of these platforms. They don't pay attention to public policy. They are so into who's dressing, who's with what woman, who's got what car. I mean, it is absolutely crazy.
Okay, Auntie, I'll give you that, Auntie Maxine. There are a lot of black men that are just wrapped up in debaucherous hip-hop culture, the simp culture, the bastard baby of single mother culture. Just basically beta males, no matter how much money they got or how much houses or cars they have, they're still beta males because they're essentially, useless to the black race and useless to themselves. It's true. A lot of black men are not, living up to their fullest potential. So since you have a district that you're in charge of, Maxine Waters, let's see what it would be like. It's only right to see what it would be like to live in your district, which I'm presuming would provide a better environment for black men to come into their own and be their best selves. Because, the district you've been in charge of for over 25 years, it would seem that, the way you talk, that look, come to my district, Negro, and we're going to show you how it's done. So let's see what your district's like, Maxine. Auntie. Auntie, I'm seeing a lot of black men in your district. They don't look like, they don't look like the opposite of black Trump supporters. When I see a black man that supports Trump, I see somebody that literally got their shit all the way together. That's just a very well spoken, someone who has good morals, someone who hates the killing of children that goes on in the community, someone who hates the mass abortion, someone who hates the detestable, environments in which we live and raise our children in. Single mother homes, the debauchery and poor values and poor morals that we that are the guidelines in our communities. I don't see a lot of idiot Trump supporters. Even the idiots ones like 50, if you want to say he's an idiot, or Lil Wayne, because they're rappers, or Q, those guys are fucking successful. Like, really successful guys, man. Chat. If you were gonna, who do you think is committing the lion's share of the crime? The carjackings, the muggings, the murders on the streets of Blackistan. Black Trump supporters or black Democrats? Who do you think is doing that? And one thing you're not seeing, because the way the guy's filming in his car, he wisely, and I can't blame him, he doesn't want to get out of his car because it seems like a very dangerous place. I mean, how many of you ever been to the hood or gone to a black neighborhood where you didn't know anybody or you weren't familiar with, like a really, really rough neighborhood, and you just feel it in the air, like when you drive up, you're like, damn. How many of you ever, used to date girls and shit, and you meet a girl and she live in the fucking trenches, and you gotta go over there and see her, and you pull up and you're like, damn. So I don't blame this guy for not getting out of the car and filming, walking up the streets. But one thing you won't see in this footage,
right there. This is not what America is supposed to be.
well, one other reason why these young black men, the majority of them, the 80% that are going to vote for Joe Biden and the Democratic Party, the ones that Maxine Waters, you referred to and allude to as uneducated, simple-minded, buffoonish, basically having the mental character and wants and desires of a child or a teenager, basically living like grown teenagers. One reason is because of the homes they come from. Broken homes and very little weight put on education and higher learning. And there's nothing to do with racism, none of that stuff. So I'm going to show you a little thing about Bengali people. These are first generation Bangladesh people who come over here and can't speak a lick of English. Come from living in squalor in a very poor country that's very poor and backwards, and like they live in towns where there's a well, where you go to draw your water out of a well every day, where there's dirt roads and people ride donkeys. These people come over here, and this is them in their first generation. I want you to see how they operate in America. Sister, leader of the sisters, Maxine Waters.
Or proving your academic smarts. smarts has been the way many low-income children have gained access to New York's top 8 selective high schools. But recently, the headlines have focused on the sharp decline in the number of Black and Latino students making it through the entrance tests. A number of social and systemic factors are at play, but at the same time, the number of students from relatively newer immigrant communities, particularly Bangladeshis, have been rising every year. The BBC's Brajesh Upadhyay travelled to Jackson Heights, New York, to find out why.
On a Saturday morning, this Bangladeshi neighborhood is buzzing with shoppers. But equally busy are the classrooms at a nearby tutoring firm filled with students doing extra work at the weekend to try to get into New York's best public
tutoring farms filled with hundreds of Bangladeshi students on the weekend doing work trying to get into New York's best high schools. Show me a tutoring farm in a Black community. Show me the group of sisters, Maxine Waters, since you're the leader of sisters. Show me the group of sisters, and sisters, most of these homes in the Black community are single mother ran, so it wouldn't be crazy for someone to ask sisters to do this. And the men are buffoons, like you say, Maxine. 80% of the men are buffoons, fine. I'm not even arguing. Even though I don't agree with that, I'm not even going to argue that. Fine. 80% of the men are buffoons. Where are the sisters and where is the tutoring farm in any Black community?
On a Saturday morning, this Bangladeshi neighborhood is buzzing with shoppers. But equally busy are the classrooms at a nearby tutoring firm filled with students doing extra work at the weekend to try to get into New York's best publicly funded schools. Khan's Tutorial is a go-to destination for children from mostly low-income Bangladeshi families. The firm...
Mostly low-income Bangladeshi families. First generation, parents can't speak no English. Parents came here in their 40s and 50s, 30s, after living a rough life in the third world country.
Is a go-to destination for children from mostly low-income Bangladeshi families. The firm, started by a Bangladeshi teacher 25 years ago with 3 students, now attracts more than 3,000 students a week. Right now,
3,000 Bangladeshi students every weekend, on the weekend, drilling in math, science, reading, arithmetic, all that stuff. Drilling on the weekend, after a week of school, on the weekend. 3,000 Bangladeshi kids at a tutoring farm. Trying to get into the top publicly funded, not the KKK school that say Black people can't come, the top publicly funded schools in New York.
This year, more than 350 of its students made it to those elite schools, and the majority of them are Bangladeshi immigrants.
We are filling in the gaps that the school system oftentimes misses, particularly in minority neighborhoods, low-income neighborhoods, new immigrant neighborhoods. And I've been in schools that were heavily underfunded. But firsthand, I was able to see the world of a difference of what kids in working-class neighborhoods are getting versus kids in slightly more established neighborhoods.
You see how the way he said it? He didn't pull the race card. He said working class versus established. What he means by established, he means 2-parent households where the mother brings in the income, the father brings in the income, and the children grow up in nice neighborhoods and they go to tutoring farms. Those white kids have tutoring on the weekend. Those rich white kids, they have flashcards after school because mom and dad put a heavy importance on education. He admits that the Bangladeshi neighborhoods don't have that because of the funding is a little less, even though these schools are 20,000 times better than the schools in Bangladesh. They're not as good as the top schools in the country. So what they're going to do is they're going to drill their kids with all this information and get them into those top schools. They're not going to complain about it. They're not going to march. You notice you don't see these people marching. You don't see them going down to the fucking art supply store, going to Michael's or Hobby Lobby and getting a bunch of sticks and signs, making signs and cardboard and markers and paint and doing all this shit. No, they're drilling their kids every weekend with the knowledge, the math, the science, the technology. They're drilling them with the stuff on the weekends, and it's working. They're taking all the spots in the top schools, the top high schools. Or you sisters will be marching and shit. Why they ain't letting black kids? That's not how you get your kids in these schools. By marching and calling people racist. Maxine Waters.
Most instructors can speak Bangla. The year-end state exams at schools are taken very seriously, and the focus is on mastering maths and English skills from an early age.
I found math really hard because I feel like I was really behind all the other students in math. So then at cons, they really pushed me to work on my weaknesses.
So this girl admits that she isn't the fucking next coming of Doogie Howser, okay? She's not a child prodigy. She worked on it at the tutoring farm. Okay? This girl is not a genius. She wasn't born with some special skill. She worked on it every weekend at the tutoring farm. You know, like the one that these sisters done created in the black community. Oops.
I was really behind all the other students in math. So then at cons, they really pushed me to work on my weaknesses.
While the city debates why its black and Latino students are not making it onto the list, these newer immigrants, many of them with higher poverty rates, have been acing the tests year after year.
These Bangladeshis have higher poverty rates because the parents just got here 10 minutes ago and they can't speak English. Yet one generation in, look what their kids are doing.
Sayyid Ali, who is writing a book on the subject, calls it the peer effect.
I think it's really about within the schools themselves and seeing what are your peers doing. And so in highly segregated schools where the blacks and Latinos are, very few students even take the exam, let alone get into these schools. And so for them, this is not, I think it's more of an abstraction for them.
What also helps is the celebration of success and the healthy rivalry within the community.
The celebration of success and a healthy rivalry in the community. Not celebrating thugs and criminals, not celebrating basketball players and football players, not looking for the next LeBron James or the next fucking Cam Newton. Not looking for the next NBA young boy, the next rapper, next Chief Keef. They celebrate their kids' academic success. These kids are somebody in their community because of what school they get into, because of their test scores, because of their grades. That's how they achieve hierarchy. The young people achieve hierarchy in this Bangladesh society in America.
Samin Hussain, the son of a daily wage worker, got into the highly sought-after Bronx High School of Science, but he still feels he could have done better.
To be honest, I felt a little disappointed because it's not what I wanted.
I thought melanin was supposed to make you stupid. Black people got melanin. This dude darker than 90% of your black activists. 90% of the niggas running around calling people coons and sambos and bootlickers and sellouts and Uncle Toms. 90% of the niggas marching in the streets and talking about the world gonna end if we don't get Trump out. 90% of your black activists that's out there marching every time a nigga get killed by police are lighter than this guy. And many of these Bangladeshis are far darker than he is. Many of the Bangladesh people are far darker than this guy.
He sought after Bronx High School of Science, but he still feels he could have done better.
To be honest, I felt a little disappointed because it's not what I wanted, but eventually I got used to it because this is the school I'm going to attend. And once I went to their open house, I saw all the opportunities and all the courses and classes I could take, and I feel very excited to go there.
These schools offer not just an education, but also opportunity. They have stellar academic records, they are free to attend, and for many in the immigrant communities, they provide a way out of poverty. For each of them, it's a chance to chase an American dream. Rajesh Upadhyay, BBC News, New York.
Okay, Maxine. Balls in your court, Maxine. In your brigade of sisters that want to threaten and shame brothers who will vote for Trump this election cycle. The ball's in your court. 77% of the homes in the community are run solely by you guys. I'm assuming we're going to start seeing tutoring farms popping up in Detroit, in Baltimore, St. Louis, Miami Gardens, Birmingham, Memphis, Philadelphia. We're going to see that, right, sisters, over the next couple of years? Because look how well it works. You don't need no money. You don't need to be light-skinned. You don't need to have the complexion for the connection, or whatever the hell y'all say. You don't need the right shade of skin. You don't need any money. You just need to get these kids and take their ass and go on the weekend and drill their ass in math, science, and technology and engineering, and drill their ass every weekend. It's simple. The mind is like a computer. I'm surprised sisters didn't figure that out, considering they're so far ahead of us brothers. But oh well. Get in the comment section. Let me hear what you guys are talking about, what you guys think about this. Also, make sure you get a channel membership, because content like this it's going to be a lot of members-only content like this that you guys haven't seen. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. But make sure you get a channel membership, because I'm going to be dropping videos like this for members. Very, very detailed, exclusive videos that we go in depth of what's really going on in the community. So get in the comment section, man. Like, subscribe, donate. Peace. I'm out.